Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to my live stream. Well, this last week, it was really, really cold here. South Carolina doesn't get that cold, but we actually got some pretty cold weather. So I really wanted to get into carving flowers to bring a little bit of that summer into January. So last week, I actually just, I hadn't been in my shop for a long time, and I just wanted to kind of get lost in a carving for no reason, just to carve. And so this is something that I carved last week. It is a camellia. Try to get that to show up a little bit. You can see it's quite deep. It's out of one inch piece of wood, and I just carved it just for fun, not for anybody. This is actually here's the camellia. It's now dead, but you can kind of see. But yeah, our camellia tree is actually blooming in January. Normally it blooms in February, which is still a little annoying for the northern folk. But yeah, so I just needed to do that. And so in continuation of that, I am going to carve an amaryllis. Now, I could not for the life of me remember the name of this flower. It is absolutely beautiful. I've got a couple different ones, just photographs from one in our garden, and they're really beautiful. And usually they're about this big, and just these glorious orange and red. Glorious orange and red, and they don't last very long, maybe 2 weeks at the most. But then even afterwards, they've got these beautiful long, flowing leaves. So once the flowers have had their time, and then we still have some really beautiful green. So it kind of reminds me of a lily, but a little heavier petals. So what I did was I took this one. This was actually one I took a photograph of in our house, and I just simply traced the outline. You can kind of see the pencil lines around there, but I basically outlined it. And show you what I did. Just cut it out, and then I added a few random leaves. I don't know if they're going to work or not. But there's the flower. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun because I just love to sort of get lost in this type of thing. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. I hope you'll have fun watching me do this. Now I want to show you this what I've done here. So here is the actual flower itself, right? Just basically here. And I ended up adding these leaves in the background. The difficulty with having it just sort of bluntly stop right there, and honestly, that was just because of the piece of wood that I had. And I thought, oh, I guess I'll probably add some leaves. Well, that's my problem. I start with a flower, and then I'm like, oh, let's just add a few more things. And then pretty soon it just gets way over the top. The difficulty, though, to have just sort of this blunt end right there is visually kind of difficult. So quite often what you might want to consider is either just have the flower in itself, like with this one, right? It's just a flower, no leaves. Or if you're going to have this, have it continue and maybe even do, like a flower pot or something coming out, or what I'm trying to say is there's no source. Or maybe if you're going to be doing a relief carving, have it actually coming out of the ground and then have a little bit of the surface of the ground, just so you can kind of, I don't know. you have to visually have a source of where this is coming from rather than just starting at this thing. So, aesthetically may not make sense. Anyway. So those are kind of things you think about. What do you do? It's like an acanthus leaf that's just sort of blunt and then starts that's quite often why they start with a scroll, because you have to have a starting point for it to just make sense visually. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and carve this. So there's all of this, all of that, all of that, and all of that, which has to be lowered down. I'm going to do that first, get it all out of the way, and all of the leaves are going to be set back. What I'll probably do on one or two of these is actually leave the tip of the leaf high, so we can do a little bit of a little bit more shape to it, rather than them all being sort of forced back. But around the flower, I'm going to bring it down as much as I can so that I can have the maximum amount of depth in the flower, because I really want to do this sculpturally if I can. All right, so initially I want to just take my V-chisel and outline all that, just to start hogging away all of the leaf area. All right, I'm going to start out with a large V-chisel and use my mallet. Okay, bear with me a second. Have I lost you? Just want to make sure. What? How are we doing? Can you guys give me some feedback on it? I'm looking at the screen, the live screen, and it is not working. Let me just see something here. Can you? All right, I just want to make sure things are working, and right now it's not. Okay, lost for a second, but back now. All right, I don't want this to mess up, because unfortunately, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a visual restart here. No, okay. All right, okay. Let's try to do this again. Okay, should be fine. I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, I'm just going to do the intro again, because it kind of messes things up when I do. Oh, no. All right, I'm going to try something here. Output. All right. Okay. Yeah. The video is getting crazy. Okay. I just reduce the bit rate on here. I'm going to just do, if you don't mind, I'm just going to redo the intro video just to sort of like start over, and hopefully it's all working. So let me just do this. Okay, well, hopefully this is working. Welcome again, if you're back with me. We've been having a little technical difficulties, so hopefully this is going to work. Yes, hopefully this is. So just if you start getting sort of choppy video, just message me, send me a message, and hopefully we're good. All right, so far. Okay. So, man, I was explaining all about the introduction. Sorry about redoing this. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and just carve. See how this goes. Okay, so this is an Amaryllis, and this is what I have copied. This is actually one that's in my garden, and I'm just going to take my 8mm V-chisel, and I'm just going to start to lower this leaf part down, and just take all of this down. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is just take all of the leaf and lower that so I can have a really nice, good depth where for the flower. And I'm just going to take this away and just start just with a very curved gouge. Take this down. And you have to be careful. Now the grain is going this direction, and this tip of the leaf is actually pretty fragile. So I'm just going to go in from the end and go basically right across the grain. If you come in this direction, this tip is going to break off. And also, if you come in this direction, just the leverage of that could break. So by doing this, the pressure goes into it, and it actually protects that area from breaking. And so this is going to be pretty rough for a while. I normally don't wear gloves like this. These are the fingerless gloves, just to protect the side of my hand here. And it just ends up helping in the abrasion along the edge, especially if it's kind of a deeper carving like this. So I really just want to get this as deep as possible, and then I'll define the outer edge of petals. All right, I might have to rotate this so I can access it, but we'll see. All right, I was having some earlier internet issues, so hopefully everything is good so far, I think. Okay, you know what I think I'm going to do on this one, because I'm going to leave the tip a little high, and then I'm going to take it a little bit deeper along the base. Now, one thing I was mentioning earlier when I was having the internet issues is that normally you wouldn't have something just stop bluntly like this. You'd either, have it continue down to sort of either a vase or something that would kind of create a starting point. So this was just sort of more that happened to be the edge of the wood, and I drew the flower, and then I thought, oh, let's add some leaves, and then I don't know. We'll see if it works. I may just choose to take the whole thing off. But quite often either have this come down to the ground, and then maybe sort of a little ripple edge where it sort of joins the ground or something like that. Anyway, but to have it just sort of start bluntly like this is not typically aesthetically right. Okay, now what I'm going to do here, just to define this, the edge, I'm going to go ahead and use a number 514. And just because the edge of these are quite random, right? So let's just look at this. If you look at this, and there's some lovely ripples on this, that curls over. There's basically 6 petals, curls way in, and then comes up, and then the edges are quite rippled. Not crazy, but there's enough shape there to give some variety. And it's very similar to a lily, but the petals themselves are quite a bit wider. Right, so you've got these curling up and then back again. Really beautiful. And these are just massive flowers. And so I'm just going to kind of do some random edges. And I can always add a little bit along these edges. It is funny when I'm sort of coming up with designs. I started out with a flower and like, oh no, I can do more than the flower. Just a flower? No, you need leaves, and then the leaves get in there, and then and then you're like, well, okay, this is supposed to be a relatively short live stream, and then after a while, like 3 hours later, I'm finally getting the carving done. So, sometimes I don't know when to stop. All right, so really just outlining it, trying to get enough shape so I can really make some wonderful three-dimensional looking petals. Okay, now right along here, so the grain is going like this. It's always a good idea to sort of go downhill. All right, so if I start doing this vertical cut right there and walk it this way, every one of those cuts is potentially going to be splitting along that grain. As I move along here, it's going to split along there. All right, so it's always a good idea to start kind of at the hill right there. And you see how now it's splitting there, but that's okay because all that's going to be taken away. You see how every time I do that, it kind of splits and opens up. You don't want that to happen in a flower. And these are just things that, you sort of pick up along the way. Not anything that was ever really taught. It's just, that thing broke. I guess I need to do something about it. All right, I'm just really leaning into this quite heavy, just so I can get it nice and deep. Okay. You see, if I would have started without the leaves, I would have already been into the carving of the flower by now. Just always have to complicate things. All right, now I want to take my V-chisel and do the same thing up here. And the same thing here. Oops, sorry, this is the 514. I'm really just taking kind of a middle of the road size. And again, that edge, the actual defining of the edge of the petals, I can do that a little bit more accurately down the road once I really do some shaping in the petals. So, when you've got flowers like this, there's so many flowers that you can carve and so many different designs. And, go online. Google Images is great for just getting examples of flowers. And so if you get a good image of a flower that you want to do, a good close-up image, and just play around with it. I would recommend, though, before you carve it, try drawing it and just kind of getting the idea of where the shading is and how the petals are overlapping each other, and there's a lot to each one, and how the stamen ends up setting, and is it just a tiny little center, or like these, if you look at this, This actually extends quite far and then it curls right at the very end. I think I'm going to have to probably stylize that one. We'll just, that's not going to be. Actually, it's kind of funny, but I was talking to my husband about this design, and he said, he was asking me if I was actually going to carve the, sorry, if I was going to actually carve the stamen. I said, no, stick a bunch of toothpicks in there and little dollops of glue on the end of it. Like, that's actually a pretty clever idea. Got to be creative with all these really tiny little bits, details. Sorry, disappeared. You're not going to be able to see me carve. All right, almost. So I'm going to have to finish this tonight because I actually have plans tomorrow. You know, sometimes I can extend these for a couple nights, but so I'm just going to stick this out and finish it tonight. All right, so let's just leave that for now. That's enough to where I can do some good shaping on the flower. Okay, so what I want to do as I'm doing this is coming up. So there's going to be a high spot right there. There's going to be a high spot there, all right, as it curls up there and down. Then there's going to be a high spot right about there. And then this is actually going to be set back because the stamen, the area, I'm just going to kind of leave an area there that's high. And then these sort of secondary ones that are sort of tucked back are going to just flow and curl back. All right, so basically these three are the top, and then these three are the next layer. All right, now you can see it's kind of tipped, right? So these are kind of angled down. It's tipped, so more of this is showing than these two. All right, so a little tricky perspective with this. But what I'm going to do first is, my heater is making all sorts of weird noise in the back, so hopefully that's not going to be too distracting. Okay, so V-chisel, I'm going to go ahead and just divide the petals, and I'm going to take this V-chisel and I'm going to go on the side of that line where the lower petal is. Okay, so really just kind of hogging that amount of wood away. So it's going to actually be not very defined for quite a while. More than likely, this V-chisel that I'm using or cutting right now is probably going to have to be recarved a couple times just because it's so flat right now. But what I'm doing, I like to call this sort of three-dimensional drawing. And so I'm basically doing some defining of this just with a very sharp pencil. All right, and that actually goes over that one. And then I know that I've got a long way to go because these go slope way in on the center there. So the V-chisel is just, I know I'm going to end up having to redo a lot of this. So, but just as I said, it's more of a drawing. And I know that I'm going to be doing again. Okay, so that's the center. So what I want to do now, all of this is going to scoop in. Oops, one more thing I want to take. Okay, so by taking a V-chisel and clearing this area out, it's going to allow me to do easier cuts going down into that hole. Now, probably even is a good idea to really sort of make a hole right now, and I'm going to go ahead and do that with the number 9, 10. Where did that end up? There we go. And really start scooping this down. Okay, now again, I've got a high spot there, and it's really arcing and aggressively rounding right there. And you can see how very quickly those V-cuts are gonna become obsolete. And this is gonna slope way down. Okay, so this is, right now, it's gonna be a lot more kind of sculpting for a while, and it might not make much sense for a while either. I really want to take this very, very deep. And then this is going to come down. So it looks like it's going underneath there. And this is actually the part that I enjoy the most, is kind of the discovery part. And kind of figuring out how it all fits together. And when you have something that is this deep, and this is actually not fully three-dimensional, but when you have something that is this sculpture like this, you've got a lot of room to play. So if it starts to look like, nah, I don't like that, I just take it a little bit deeper. And you know, this part here, this is going way in there, all the way in there. So let me just show you here. That's this part here, coming way in there. So there's a, like this funnel part there that really goes deep. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to take it as deep as the real one is, but certainly give the illusion of it. So there's the funnel. All right, and then all of that's going, the source coming from right in there. Okay, so we're getting an idea of that, and I really don't want to have any flat. So sometimes if you're going to be doing this very shallow relief, you may have to kind of trick the eye and making it look like it's deeper than it is by leaving certain areas flat and making it more aggressive around the outer edges, but you don't really need to do that here. All right, now I need to deal with these two back ones that are just kind of peeking out from underneath there, and I just need to kind of get them out of the way. It really is fun doing this, and you just, you know, it doesn't, and the thing is, there's no right or wrong. You just play around with it and kind of see how far you can get and how dramatic you can get those the petals to look. And now it's it really is a lot of fun. All right, so I think what I'm going to do, because there's still a pretty significant flat spot there, I'm going to start to round this outer edge just so I can kind of figure out what's actually happening with this shape. So right here, I'm going to round that over. And you can see I'm already, those leaves are already interfering with me wanting to get deeper. So I'm going to have to probably lower those leaves, or I'm going to have to just take them right off because they're interfering with my artistic creation. We'll see. That is one of those fun redesign opportunities that often happen when your your dreams and aspirations don't quite reflect the reality of the carving and the reality of what is possible. All right, let's just lower that down because I need more room. These are going to be very, very thin leaves when I get finished with this. All right, I need to clear that away again. All right, now I gotta lower this one down. All right, back to this. So just giving me a little bit more room to make this much deeper than it is. Okay, yeah, that gives me a little bit more room to round over those petals. Okay, now I'm going to go back and take this. Now, what I want to do is actually it's going to be kind of a sweeping cut, or a shape like that. Right? Let me show you what's going on. There is basically, do you see how that curve? And if I make sure that all of the shapes that I'm making actually reflect that curve, and then also that curve, and it doesn't even matter that it's, you know, the color difference, it's actually the texture in the leaf that you can kind of see also that would reflect that. And if I don't follow that and create that arc, it's just going to deaden and flatten the leaf. So there's the leaf, sorry, I keep calling it a leaf, the petal. All right, and then there's another one there, kind of straightens, but there's that arc there. And this one is kind of like that. Right, and then this one is a little straighter, but there's a little bit of a curve to it. Okay, so just keep in mind that that is actually going to, you know, create some of a little bit more of the accentuated curve. All right, so that curves there, curves there. All right, everything in the design is going to follow those. Oops. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start working on this one. This is going to come down here. See, that's going to come, oops, my backer board keeps getting flexed. All right, where was I? Okay, so all of that is going to come down here. And you know, the interesting thing is because these petals are so close to each other and there's just a tiny step, you could end up doing the whole thing without separating the petals and then just do a sort of a general rounding of everything. You could do that, but what happens is if you do that, you kind of lose the edges of the petals, first of all. I mean, you just completely have to redraw everything. And it certainly can, you certainly can do that. There's no problem with that. It's just when you do kind of finally get that sort of general shape done, then you just have to locate the edges and then do a small, really is a very small step between each of the layered petals. And also it's so hard. It's so undefined for quite a long time. And sometimes you just need those edges just so you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit. All right, gotta lower this again, see? I need room. I think I better take a V-chisel and divide that up again. I'm kind of losing that edge right here. A three-dimensional drawing tool. And I think I'm going to do it right here too while I've got the tool in my hand. Separate that a little bit more. All right, and this one also. You know, this type of carving, I really could I could do forever and just get lost in it. And just keep discovering. And then this, just rounding over the tip there. So that's the high spot right there. Now the thing is, you know, I'm doing this on a live stream, so you know there's a little bit of a limited amount of time I can do this. But you know, if you're doing this and just take your time with it and just explore the shapes, explore each of the individual petals' own unique shape and curve, and you know what? If it doesn't work out the first time, that's okay. You can try it again, or you can carve it deeper. All right, so there's this one. Again, this one actually is becoming higher than that, so that needs to come down as that lower petal. Now I haven't really defined the outer edges of the petals, except for the very outer edges. I haven't defined with a vertical cut the outer edges of the sort of overlapping petals. I will do that though once I know where I'm going with it. If I start to define all of these now, I'm going to be doing them over and over and over and over again. And so really I'm just, you know, loosely going around with a V-chisel. And I'm going to go loosely around with the V-chisel one more time. There and there, and where? There. I guess we can separate that. Again, that initial that initial V cut, I knew was going to have to be again and again and again. All right. So back to the 9. So it really, this whole thing used the number 910, 514, and the 8mm V-chisel. And that's pretty much all, because this is really more the kind of the sculpting tool, and it's creating a lot of gouge marks, but I also want to have it curved enough like this so that it removes enough so that I can really, get to where I need to go. If I use a too small one, it's going to end up not taking enough wood away each time, so anyway, yeah, this is more my sculpting tool. Okay, so now I'm starting to form that bit of that curve there by using this tool as that shaping. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to try to do a sweeping cut. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to start to form the surface. I know I'm going to do a lot more, but all right, so I'm going to just go ahead here. So there's it arcs really aggressive there, comes like that, and then comes around like that, and then this displays around like that. So right now, this is just creating the flow of the actual shape of the petals. And because these have a very slight ripple to the surface of the petals, it kind of works with it. And I really don't want to have anything, I don't want to have anything precise. It's all kind of random, and if I start to try to get it too locked in and too many repetitive cuts, and then it just really kind of loses the life that this is needed. All right, now this one I haven't really done much at all, so I'm going to go ahead and lower that down a little bit more. And then this side is going to come down that. And I got all this room. I can do that. And I can take that all the way to the background. Really create some nice curl. So I have a meeting next week in Boston where I am hopefully, I don't even want to say this, but hopefully going to be getting a commission to carve a Grinling Gibbons style fireplace. So yeah, very, very excited about that. Really ornate, highly detailed fireplace mantle. So I'm flying up to Boston to meet with the client and the architect, and that is going to be a project. Talking about a fireplace mantle plus the overmantle. Yeah, it's going to be one of those kind of job of a lifetime. Really, it's actually been in the works for probably 5 or 6 years, and so finally feels like it's going to actually come to something very soon. Okay, do you see how I've got this sort of curling this way? So if you're not familiar with who Grilling Gibbons is, gotta look him up because it's an absolutely gorgeous carving and incredibly deep detailed carving, and 17th century carver from England. Okay, so edges are not fully defined, but I'm getting a feel of each of the petals, and I feel good about this. And I'm just going to continue on there and just getting a little bit more of the feel. This one, the lines aren't quite working, so I'm going to just a little bit deeper and bring the flow of those lines in more correctly. So this one is almost a little bit more straight. So I've got one there, and then as I come around, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a splaying out like that and splaying out like that. But think about this. As you're doing this, as you're making these cuts, there is a source, and it's important to basically think about that is the center of the flower. And every line that you make, every line that you cut should aim towards that center. All right. If it's going off in odd directions, then it's just not going to bring it all together and flow. So keep that in mind. Like this one in particular is showing up well. It's coming around, and every one of those cuts coming around like that, coming around like that. All right. And then this one's not quite that. Actually, these need to be sort of more curved like that, like that. So I'll work on that. This one, all right, each one. So just keep that in mind. If it, in pretty much every, whether it's a vein line, whether it's just a texture line, it's important to make sure they all really flow down. And okay, so if you look at that, there's the center. Every line flows because that is the source that all of these petals are. Oh no, lost. Oh no. Lost you again, or you lost me again. Hold on. Settings, output. All right, I'm seeing if everybody's there. Okay. All right, bear with me. Can you hear me? Okay, can you? Okay, I'm just trying to. Okay, is it back? I just changed some stuff on it. Just want to make sure. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and continue. Sorry about that. I think we're back. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and continue on. Okay, yeah, that's all right. We'll just make it work. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is just make everything flow down towards that center, and we'll make it all work. All right, and then right now I'm just kind of nibbling away at all this, and yeah, I think this is coming. Now this one, I haven't really worked with this one much, but I'm just going to go ahead and really start forming that and really making it curl over. Yeah, this is actually a really fun carving, or a really fun flower to carve, because there's just so much shape to it. And they're very bold petals. You know, you can get some pretty fussy flowers, you know, like a marigold or something like that, that it just can make you go insane with all the little petals. But the fact that they're just these very bold shaped petals, it really gives you a lot of exciting possibilities to just get crazy with it. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate this. Because I want to be able to get, I'm going to take this petal there, right? So this one here, see it's still flat, but I just coming from here and going that direction is going to allow me to really shape that one. All right, so I have to turn my picture upside down, so that's where we're going. It's this one here. See that aggressive arc there? And then all these splay out there, splay there, okay? And then, so all of these, again, the center of the flower is there, so every cut that I make is going to be curving around pointing towards there, or heading in that direction at least. Now this is a very large tool that I'm using, so I'm going to, once I get all the main shape down, then I'm going to start using some smaller tools to really create more than just these very deep cuts. But you know what? You could probably get away with just this, and that is all you really need, and it really creates some pretty dramatic shape. Okay, now that is actually going underneath stamen. And this should go really almost straight because it's actually should look like it's tucking way in. So all of this very aggressive curling down there. Now there's some areas of the separation of these petals. I still have to define that. And I still have to define the edges of these. So there's a little ways to go, but I'm actually really liking this. I'm going to go ahead and finish this one now. Okay, and then these should all curve down. Okay, so there's 2 petals in the back there. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this V-chisel and finish up doing a little bit of the outlining. And then this one, let's see, this is slightly overlapping that. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and, so right here, my V-chisel, just do a slight overlap. Again, it's not a huge amount of overlap. It's just enough to create an edge. But you can also make a pretty aggressive overlap, and it'll show up more. Okay. Oh no, it looks like it's stuck again. Okay, well, I changed this again, and we'll see how this works. Am I back? Okay, I think I think I'm back. I just want to make sure. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. Yeah. You know what? The unfortunate thing, I have to keep downgrading the bit rate, which unfortunately affects the actual the blurriness of the video. So, okay. I mean, it is like the lowest a video can possibly be. I don't know what's happening with the internet here, but anyway, I think we're back. So, hang in there, hang in there. We're getting there. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to rotate this. For some reason, it shows up a little bit better the other direction. This. I think it's okay. Okay, so now I think what I need to do is start really defining this. I'm going to go ahead and use my 314 and 514, but I'm going to start to just define the edge, and I'm going to do a little bit of an undercut as I do this, just enough so I don't see that vertical wall. All right, and I want it to be random, and I can end up using several different shapes. I mean, I've just got the number 314 here, but you can, use between the 5. You can use a smaller one and add a little bit more ripple to it. It's just, it doesn't have to be this. I just don't want to keep switching the tools. All right, and that is going to come in like that, and just... Now, the only problem with this is it gets rid of all those nice gouge marks that create that nice surface. So I'm going to have to probably go back and do that. And then this, all right, that is going to flip my drawing around. That's going to come up like that. And again, now also what you want to make sure of, we're talking about all of the, oh no, is it working again? Okay. Anyway, all of these lines pointing towards there, all of the outer edges also, if you imagine them to continue, they should also merge and actually point towards basically the center. So here and here. So if they go off in some odd direction, then they're not going to connect, and it's not going to show as a petal that all comes from one source. Okay, again, right here, you can do a little bit of an undercut. I'm just sort of twisting, turning the tool back and forth, and all right, and then this one here is going to go slightly under there, so I am going to take that, a little bit of that. Okay. All right, are we... Okay, good. Everybody can see what I'm doing? Yeah, that's really kind of annoying, this that live stream thing. And I'm not sure if it is the local internet connection or if it's something that I'm doing, but I really do hope that I can get it figured out. Because it's kind of irritating. All right. So right here, just gonna finish that up. So anywhere where it overlaps, just a little bit of an undercut. Okay, now you can do more aggressive undercut, but right now I'm just trying to make this work. Oh, I want to show you something. Remember I was telling you all of the outline of the petals should point towards the center? I've got something happening here that's not right. All right, look at this one here. Do you see how that one's going off like that? This one should tuck in, and actually that right there also should tuck in. Okay, and that's going to bring this one so it really flows from there. This one, probably even a little bit more right at the edge there. That one's working. That side's working. This one, maybe even a little bit more kind of a tucking in. Okay, and that's going to make every single petal look like it's flowing, coming out of that center source. So it's surprising what that tiny little detail does. It's very important to do it. All right, so taking my 314 and just taking and twisting that a little bit more. This one also. Okay, and then taking that one and just a little bit of a curving right at the edge there and bring it back around. Okay, I think it's working. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now, these need to come looking like they're coming right from the center stamen. So I'm going to take that and lower that down, really kind of angle it down so it looks like it's coming right from the inside, right from the center of the flower. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my V-chisel and I'm just going to divide this up. They really should be, slightly random, but they're actually quite straight. So you may want to use a smaller one just to, because when you get right down into the inside there, it's going to end up the tool itself is going to kind of snag, right? So. All right, and then at the end here, I'm just going to do some random cuts, right? Just these are the trickiest things to do because like you don't want to just sort of let it kind of fade off completely, and you want to do some type of definition, but you could spend a lot of time fussing with these things and not really getting much success. So I think what I'm going to do is just let that be. All right, let me just show you what I've done here. And I'm going to carve around the edges of it so that it's I'll be defining the edges a bit more and then fixing up the edges. But there's not a lot more you can do with that. Just a bunch of V-cuts. You don't want to make it such a feature that it just sort of takes away from the petals. So I'm actually probably going to end up thinning this out a little bit more there, but we can do that whenever. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a smaller gouge. I'm actually going to take a number 11 and number 11-3, and I want to do a little bit more accentuating some of these shapes, all right, some of the curves, and not get too carried away, but maybe just a few of them, but just really kind of reinforcing the direction of the texture lines. And again, just make sure, and it's probably a good idea to draw these in, but basically just make sure that they all point towards the that center. And so right here, it doesn't have to be a lot, but just so your eye can follow it. Okay, and then some more there. Just really very random, nothing too crazy. And I think I'm gonna take some of these out also. It's just weird. Okay, now this one. And I'm going to have to turn around to come back in this direction, but let's see if I can do it from there. Okay. Let me just take a look at it from a distance here and we'll see. All right, so take a look and, well, I mean, that's a crazy wild surface of the flower. Yeah, I think I'm going to go work on the leaves for a bit and then we'll come back to the flower if there's anything. There we go. Get the light on there. About there. I'm going to go ahead and just work on the leaves just to kind of, so it's not unfinished. Let's see, work on this one. I'm going to go ahead and use a, hold on a second. I'm going to take it so that so this is the high edge and I'm going to slope it back like this. Let me just show you what the leaves are. They're really very sort of thick, waxy leaves. I don't know if you can see that, but they sort of end with sort of a blunt curve on the end, and they go in right in the center. So they're really pretty basic, but I think what I'm going to do is take this upper edge just so they're not just these plain old flat leaves, but they actually should be a little bit hollowed. And then again, undercut if you want, right here. So a little bit of a hollow in the center of the leaf. All right, now I'm going to take this veiner and just go right down the center just to accentuate that center, and then let's round off. It's sort of a rough edge there right now, but I just want to soften the edge there and then soften the edge there. Now this is where you can really do some aggressive undercutting along all of these edges, and just, you know. All right, see, I can't stop. I'm just gonna taper that into that center a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. So this one, just to have a little bit of variety, I'm gonna lean it this way. And undercut. And then take that veiner. Just a little bit of an arc to that. I just went completely against the grain on that side of it. Kind of hard to come back uphill that way. Okay, now this one, I'm going to go ahead and make it look like it's kind of over, sort of curled over. I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll try. Oh, see, now I'm going to get this really complicated. I'm going to do that on this side. Actually, you know what? Let's make that one facing the opposite way. Well, basically, I'm going to show the back side of it. There we go. Let's do that. So that is going to come in like that. So instead of having it hollowed, it's going to be the opposite. And I'm going to have that raised. So it's looking like, I got to define this a bit more. Okay, and then that is going to, this is going to come down here, and I'm just going to make that one overlapping there. So you just have to make it look like that's kind of, and then this is going to tuck behind it. All right, let's just go ahead and define that. That was a very quick shortcut way of defining it using a tool that doesn't quite fit the curve. Oh well. We have ways of making it work. All right, now I'm going to take this side and just do the opposite. So we're basically looking at the back side of the leaf. And I'm not sure if that actually makes sense or not, but I'm doing it anyway. Just don't like it all. I don't like to do it too much all the same, you know? This is actually a continuation of that, so need to take that down. All right. Take that a little bit deeper because it's not releasing. and then that, and then there's going to be the center coming through there. That should connect with that. I don't know if it is or not. All right, that's pretty good. All right, one more here, and this is where I wanted to make it look like it's sort of curving. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Let's go ahead and see. I'm going to take this, that. Okay, I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to do. Now take a V-chisel. I'm going to come in this direction and basically I'm forming the upper edge. Sorry, probably blocking that completely. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that at all. Okay, and then it's going to take a tiny little gouge here, number 9.5, and take this all the way. Okay, I don't know if you can see what's going on, but basically I'm trying to make that look like it's an edge that's curling under and then coming back up the back side. Now there is this one. Oh, I guess that's going behind because I just, that's going to come like that. Yeah, let's just make a division there and hopefully it'll make sense. And then there's going to be the edge of this one right here. Anyway, I'll just make a bunch of edges and hopefully it'll make sense. All right. See, now it's getting complicated. Let's just take a V cut right along there. And I don't know, make another V cut right there and we'll figure it out. And that's going to come in like that, and it will look like it's the leaf coming underneath. And I think at this point we just need to stop while I'm ahead. You know, it's funny, that last final thing is like, it gets the most complicated detail. At the very end. I do like to make my life difficult sometimes, and unfortunately having a hard time seeing what I'm doing because I'm kind of behind that leaf. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take this number 11 just so I can get in there, figure that out. Anyway, I don't have much wood left there. All right, so there's some areas here where when I did a little cleanup, I sort of lost some of the texture lines. And anyway, we got a lot we can do with this. Okay, let's just see how this works. All right, I think, yeah, let's turn it sideways. Yeah, a lot of movement, and I like that one where it actually sort of looks like it curls and bends, but I can work with that a bit more. And the other ones are just a little plain. You could end up doing the same thing with that one. So let's just see if it's going to show up a little bit better. Let me zoom out a bit more. Okay, that's actually showing up a bit more. But just to really pay attention when you're doing this, all of those flowing down, this is basically the circle, right, where everything needs to point towards. And yeah, and I don't know, I'm not sure about the leaves, but they add some nice detail. And again, you almost want to sort of have some source, some something that's coming out of. So anyway, I think that's pretty much going to end this. So we've started out with this, right? And here you can kind of see. So close, but yeah, get some photographs, draw, and get the feel for the flow of the lines. But really important for all flowers, everything comes towards that bud, the center bud, and everything flows, whether it's the outer edges of the petals or any details in there. So just really, really important. It's one of those things you don't necessarily need to be concerned about with right away while you're forming it and while you're shaping it, but very important. So those final details. So now, if you really wanted to get very fancy with the stamen, as I said, I mean, you could sit there and carve all the little itty bitty details, but that's not happening in this live stream. Or, as I said, take a bunch of toothpicks and stick them in there and, you know, put dollops of hot melt glue or something on the end of them. So there's like this little bead thing. So anyway, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I thoroughly did. And so now we've got two wild looking flowers. Yeah, and you know what? I'm looking at the actual original real flower, and I think I probably have way more texture lines than is necessary. So you can do a much more smoother surface, and then do just some final ones, maybe even just tiny little V cuts, but those V cuts curve correctly. So, oh dear, the video decided to get all annoying and stop on me again. So yeah, we'll just see if it's actually going to cooperate. I'm not sure. So irritating. Sorry about the video issues. I'm not sure what's going on. If this is an actual, I need to call my internet provider and find out what's going on. So I guess that's the thing with live stream. Sorry about that. Again, I hope you were able to actually see everything. I apologize, but anyway, happy carving, and find some pretty exciting flowers to carve. All right. Happy carving, everybody. Bye-bye.